Hey YouTube, it's Scott.
And Shara.
And we're on the Bahamas Adventure. Stay tuned. Good morning YouTube. After a year of planning and saving, my wife Shara and I are heading on our first ocean adventure together. While I've had several years of adventures on the high seas with the Navy, this will be my wife's first experience on a ship, and we would like to invite you to join us. The adventure started early on a 15-degree November morning when we boarded a flight in Omaha, Nebraska. Fortunately, when we disembarked the flight in Miami, Florida, the temperature had skyrocketed to the 80s. We quickly dropped our luggage at a hotel and grabbed an Uber and headed to Miami Beach to dip our toes in the ocean. In order to not be rushed and risk missing our ship due to holiday travel delays, I booked an extra day in Miami. Day 2 is that day. The goal today is to find authentic Cuban food and find a go bag to act as a substitute for the one still hanging on the closet door in Nebraska. We are also tasked with finding a replacement for a pair of broken sunglasses. After lunch, it was time to get to shopping, and during our shopping, we found this place, Rosetta, an Italian bakery where I got to sample some gluten-filled treats, and Shara was able to satisfy her caffeine needs. With Shara fully caffeinated and me fully sweetened and sporting a new bag over my shoulder and new glasses, it was time for us to go play on the beach. Day 3 of the adventure finds us on an Uber ride from the hotel to Port Miami to board the MSC Seaside, and to say our excitement is building is an understatement. Speaking of building, this ship is massive. Think skyscraper laying on its side. She is 1,060 feet long and 135 feet wide. The ship has 18 decks above water and 28.1 feet below the waterline. This is by far the biggest ship I have ever been on. Boarding was far easier than we had anticipated. They took our bags when we got out of the Uber and took them straight to our stateroom. We walked up to security and then to boarding. After a short wait, we were called to board. Once on board, we were free to explore this glamorous city on the water. Our first goal was to find our stateroom, then to grab some lunch with an amazing view of the harbor. Our first port visit was Ocean Cay, a privately owned island by the cruise lines. While we looked forward to snorkeling and paddleboarding in this beautiful location, the weather had other plans for us. All the excursions were canceled due to high winds and waves. Author John Levy suggests that an experience should meet several criteria to be considered an adventure. 1. Be remarkable, that is, worth talking about. 2. Involve adversity or perceived risk. Or 3. Bring about personal growth. We were given a choice, and we chose personal growth. Sure, we could have been upset about the lack of activities. Instead, we enjoyed the beach and the 80-degree weather with our toes in the water. Like I've always said, if it goes as planned, it's a trip. And when it goes off the rails, it becomes an adventure. And in the end, we don't sit back in old age and remember when everything went smoothly. It's the adventures that put a twinkle in our eyes and a smile on our face. All right, so our first day was at Ocean Cay.
Ocean Cay.
Ocean Cay.
Spelled C-A-Y. It's French.
All right. Great stop, relaxing. Unfortunately, the weather was weathering, and yeah, we didn't get to do the snorkeling or the
Paddleboarding.
Oh well. Life's an adventure. It's what you do with it that counts. Now we're in Nassau, and we're getting ready to go on a Jeep adventure. This will be fun. Now, I'm not gonna lie. This was the excursion that I was most looking forward to. Arriving in Nassau, getting off the boat, getting in a Jeep, and driving around and exploring the area. How cool is that? You got to drive, you got to go see a cave, a beach, and go get fed. And I got to drive a old friend. Well, looks like an old friend. That looks very much like my old TJ. I don't know if it's a wise idea to put me in a Jeep in a foreign country, but they did. The tour was set up for the participants to drive the Jeeps. We set out in a caravan of 5 Jeeps, each identified by color. Gold, silver, navy, that was us, purple, that's another story, and yellow, the tour guide's Jeep. We all followed the yellow Jeep throughout the streets of Nassau as the guide provided interesting facts along the way over the CB, such as this building here was supposedly frequented by Al Capone during Prohibition. I couldn't find information on it on Google, so if you know more about it, please comment below. This tour included 3 stops: a cave, a beach, and a restaurant for lunch. The beach, however, is where things got interesting. While we all stayed together to spend a few minutes checking out the cave, our beach stop was designed for us to enjoy an ocean view in the Bahama beach. After parking, we were told to meet back at the Jeep in 45 minutes. Soon after arriving, the tour guide left. No worries, he probably had an errand to run for the tour company. However, the purple Jeep left soon after him looking for an adventure of their own. When it was time to meet back up, everyone was there, except the purple Jeep. To say the tour guide was not impressed would be an understatement. Pro tip: if you find yourself on a driving tour with the company's vehicles, don't go exploring on your own. It's highly frowned upon. While the tour guide was able to locate our missing friends from the purple Jeep, for the remainder of our tour, he made it a point to humiliate them, calling them out several times over the CB and making them turn in their keys when we arrived at our final stop for lunch. Needless to say, our Jeep adventure on Nassau came with some unexpected and memorable twists. We will never look at a purple Jeep quite the same. And before we forget, we want to thank Austin for being part of this adventure and doing some of the driving and some of the filming. Now let's get back to the show. After a day of jeeping around Nassau, we had a little time to do some shopping. Then it was time to get back to the ship and get underway. Tomorrow is scheduled a sea day while we sail to our next port. Today we did the Jeep tour. What did you think of it?
It was okay.
Huh?
Yeah, we had fun.
The cave and the beach were a little underwhelming, but getting out in the community and driving around and seeing other places, that was kind of cool.
Definitely.
And the food was amazing.
Yes.
So, must do. Stay tuned for the next video where we get into San Juan, Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. Until then, have a blessed day. Remember, life's an adventure. Go live it. Hey YouTube, it's Scott.
And Shara.
Come along on our carry. Yep. Stay tuned for...